My name is Natalie Vanderwerken and I love dragons. I have more than 30 of them, most collected from around the world while I served in the Navy as a meteorologist and anti-submarine warfare specialist. The Dragon's Children is a fantasy series of 5 books about the Eric family of Red Dragon's Keep and their fight to survive the Demon War. The series was inspired by a fairy tale I told my grandchildren on Christmas Eve when they were very young. They were getting ready to leave after dinner and presents had been opened. They were tired and whiny, something their parents didn't appreciate at all. I sat down in the living room and said very quietly, "I have a story for you. Once upon a time, there was a castle where 3 families and 5 children lived together. The parents of the 3 families were ordered to go to the capital to help the king. They had to go, but they had no one to leave the 5 children with. So they decided to ask the dragon in the basement. The story flowed from me to them. There were thieves in the forests around the castle who were planning to steal the gold in the treasury room. The dragon showed the children where to find the magic swords in the armory and how to use them. The grandchildren were putting on boots and coats by the front door. As the story grew, they scooted over to me and were soon sitting in a semicircle at my feet. The thieves broke into the castle and tried to get past the children, the dragon, and the magic swords to the gold. There was a great battle. Very wide eyes watched my face as I told the story. I looked up and my daughters and their husbands had taken seats around the room in their coats and boots, listening to the fairy tale. I realized then that I had to write this story. The main character in each of the books is based on one of the grandchildren. And so let us begin the tale of Owen Eric, the second son, as he tries to find his place in a world of magic, swords of light, dragons, and most important for him, a magical black as midnight WindRunner. WindRunner, Chapter 3. Last meal was finished. Family and guests sat at the head table quietly discussing ideas for Owen's departure in the morning. Shouts of alarm echoed from the forecourt into the great hall. Thomas and Aidan rose from their chairs. Gregory twisted around to face the end of the great hall. The doors slammed open and hit the walls on either side with a resounding crack, rebounding halfway closed. A huge animal, black as night, shouldered the heavy wood out of its way. Owen, descending the stairs from the family corridor, returning with a book he wanted to share with Cameron, stopped. He stumbled to a halt as he stared at the creature in the doorway. Men drew swords and grabbed for any weapon they could lay their hands on. "Hold!" The command froze everyone in place. Lady Aidan, the red dragon, stood by her chair looking at the creature. She took 3 steps toward it and bowed deeply. "Gaith Salor, WindRunner, you honor us. How may we help you?" She waved her hand, releasing her spell of immobility. Those assembled in the hall slowly lowered weapons and returned to their seats. The WindRunner resembled a warhorse, but twice again its size. He gazed imperiously over the assembly. A toss of his head sent an impossibly long forelock and mane floating about his head and neck. The WindRunner fastened his glistening black eyes on Owen. Owen sucked in a breath. The book he was carrying slipped from his fingers and thudded on the stairs. "I have come for you." The WindRunner's voice echoed in the minds of everyone. Murmurs rippled around the great hall. The WindRunner paced into the room and up the aisle between tables and benches. Owen turned as if to run back to the stairs, but hesitated. What if it follows me up? He stood rooted on the 4th stair from the bottom. Owen felt he was shrinking as the giant creature approached. He began to tremble with a combination of fear and anticipation. His throat turned dry and his breathing increased, making him lightheaded. "I choose you. Gather your things and come with me." Owen darted his eyes toward the high table. Everyone there sat or stood in absolute silence, eyes wide and some mouths hanging open. "Lady Aidan, would you please introduce us, since you seem to know him?" Thomas asked. He looked wary, thoughtful, and concerned, his lips compressed into a thin line. Of course, Lord Thomas, she turned to face him. This is a windrunner from the Great Plains of the Windward Range. My name is Navarre. I have come for the second son. Lady Aidan gave a shallow bow to the windrunner. As you say, Navarre. She kept her eyes on the living legend. Windrunners choose a rider only in the most dire need. Master Owen has been chosen by Navarre for the Windward Range. Well, then, it's a good thing Owen is already going to AOC, Thomas said with iron self-control. Welcome, Windrunner. Would you rest here for one day while Owen prepares? The creature from myth swung his head toward the high table and regarded Thomas. Silence stretched. He finally spoke to the minds of everyone in the hall. I will wait. What can we do to make your stay more pleasant? Aidan asked. I need a warm room and water. The windrunner looked at the others gathered at the high table. Greetings, Arakri. It has been long since we last spoke. Nulok, the king of the dragons, gave a small nod of his head. Greetings, Navarre. Need calls us once again. So it does, Navarre replied. Darkness and slaughter march across the land. It is well you have come from your citadels in the wilderness. The waking of the swords of light has roused more danger than anyone realizes. He lashed his tail in agitation. I greet all of you, Clam Solas. Well met. The swords of light, never far from their chosen, murmured greetings, causing a shudder to pass through those still lingering in the great hall. Most had slipped away as the highborn spoke. What if I don't want to go with him? Owen spoke loudly into the quiet. Silence greeted his words. Heartstriker, his sword of light, rebuked him. Do you want the dark to swallow your home in this land? You are needed where fate takes you. Be silent and learn. Owen clamped his mouth shut and flared his nostrils, crossing his arms over his chest in a display of mulish stubbornness. He looked at his brother, who gave a tiny shake of his head. Thomas's eyes looked up the stairwell and then back at Owen. Owen took the hint. He bowed to the high table and to Navarre. I need to finish packing. Good night. He turned and marched back up the stairs.